This is the Chopped Podcast, episode number 6. Yum. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. This is the 6th episode of the Chopped Podcast. This podcast is designed for people just like you, bloggers who love food. Each week, I'll be sharing interviews, thoughts, and stories, everything related to food blogging. We'll talk about what works with food blogging and even a little bit about what doesn't. Today's guest is Kathryne Taylor with the blog Cookie and Kate, and we're talking about making the transition to becoming a full-time food blogger. I met Kathryne at the Chopped conference just last year, and she talked then about her strategy for becoming a full-time blogger. And I knew then this was going to be a great topic for further discussion, and I'm so glad I had that chat with her. Kathryne and I also talk about working remotely, how to incorporate travel into being a food blogger, editorial planning, how to prioritize what the things that you're publishing for your blog, and all kinds of things like that. A few little side conversations as well. If you've ever thought about quitting the job that you hate, or I don't know, maybe you're right now a hobby blogger and looking to go pro, this episode is for you. But before we get into the interview, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who has sent emails, subscribed, left reviews, tweeted, everything about the Chopped podcast. It's really been overwhelming and exciting at the same time. Your feedback and your support of the show has made such a difference. In fact, the Chopped podcast has been featured in the iTunes new and noteworthy list. Yay! It's so exciting. Each episode feels like a labor of love, and we're working really hard to produce content that makes a difference for your food blog. And your subscriptions and your reviews has really made it all worthwhile. So thank you. And if you haven't already, please head on over to iTunes and leave a review. Each one of them makes such a difference and really helps the podcast out a lot. Okay, let's go straight to the interview with Kathryne. Kick up your feet, grab a soda, and put on those headphones, and let's talk about all things food blogging and so much more. Hey everyone, I'm excited to have Kathryne Taylor of the spunky and fun blog Cookie and Kate on the show today. Kathryne, welcome to the Chopped Podcast.
Hi, Marley. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm really pleased to have you here. There's so much I want to talk with you about today. Your amazing blog. I love your delicious vegetarian recipes, your food photography, and of course, there's your dog Cookie. But first, I wanted to ask you about how this all began. How is it that you started a food blog?
Yeah, well, I feel like my food blog got kind of an unconventional start because I didn't start it to talk about food.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was working in a pretty boring online marketing job, and throughout college, I had developed a very strong interest in photography and took a couple classes in it, and had always loved writing. And there was even a semester that I spent in France where I kind of started a little blog so I could share my experiences with my family. And so after college, when I was working at this job that I did not like, and learning all about like SEO and, just Facebook and all the things like that, I decided I needed just a creative project. And my friend had introduced me to all these like design and style blogs, and I was reading those, and I thought, well, maybe I could just make a blog. So, I had this ambiguous blog theme. I mean, just literally a non-existent blog theme. And I thought Cookie and Kate had a nice ring to it because, I had Cookie by then. And so I just started blogging about stuff like, pictures of flowers, pictures of Cookie, and then I immediately ran out of content. So
how many pictures of cookies can you talk about? Flowers.
You can't publish those every time.
Yeah.
I realized pretty quickly that I didn't want to post anyone else's photos. For a while, I thought I'd talk about interior design or style maybe even, and I didn't find those satisfying because I didn't like to promote just materialism. Like, I wasn't making a lot of money, and I didn't, I already couldn't afford the stuff that I liked or wanted, and I just didn't want to encourage that, feeling of less than or, frustration. So, anyway, I had become a vegetarian by that point. I was definitely interested in health and reading Michael Pollan, and
Love him.
yeah, he's my favorite.
Yeah.
And so I just, one day I thought, well, why don't I post that salsa I've been making a lot lately? And so I took a few photos right after work, like as the sun's going down, and I was like, oh, this is like subject matter. This is like, I can wrap stories around it. It gives me something to photograph. It's like healthy and attainable. Like literally people can see the recipe, stop at the grocery store and go home and like have it.
Yeah.
I find it's really satisfying, I think, to be able to go home and like cook yourself a meal, rather than just at these office jobs. I just felt like I was crossing off like a virtual to-do list and didn't actually have much concrete proof of my work at the end of the day. And cooking is different because it's very like tangible, and it's just so rewarding to sit down and enjoy something you have made for yourself.
I like that about college too. You take a class, you get a grade. You
Right.
turn in this paper. So same thing with cooking. You go in the kitchen, you spend a little bit of time there, and look what you have to show for it.
Yeah, that's even why I enjoyed waitressing. You talk to people, you make money after every interaction. It's like boom.
Yeah, that's really nice, actually.
Yeah, and honestly, that's part of the reason why I love blogging. It's so nice to be able to work really hard on something and hit publish and get immediate feedback on it.
Exactly. So how did it go when you published that salsa recipe?
Well, I think I got about 5 nice comments from about my 10 visitors that day, and I was like, whoa. So I just started posting more. I didn't immediately transition to like food blog, but I started posting more recipes. My interest in cooking grew along with it. I just find cooking is such a creative process, and I've always enjoyed making things, so it just seemed like a natural course for me. Yeah.
I agree. I think if you have any kind of creative bent in you, that spending time in the kitchen is just a perfect outlet for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, I know a lot of people cook for all kinds of reasons. A lot of it is just to, like, nurture those who are close to them. But, since college, I've basically been living on my own. So for me, for now, it's really just about, like, I get a concept in my head and I think it all through, and then I get to, like, try to make it come to life. And sometimes it works, and it's just fun to be able to share those.
So how long were you also interested in cooking as when you were growing up, or, mostly it started later, right before you started the blog?
I didn't have like I don't think I ever had a moment where I went, ooh, I love cooking. But I grew up just making craft projects all the time. And I was kind of the kid who, I was so picky. And if my mom would make something that I didn't want, I'd like get up and make myself a tortilla pizza or like spaghetti. And then eventually I just started like throwing random things on top of it to see if it'd turn out well.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, so I think it's just a natural like creativity thing.
I remember I had a friend that once used 2 packets of cheese in her macaroni and cheese, and I thought that was so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think my tastes have definitely evolved from that point of view. Yeah.
No, actually, I mean, when I spent a semester in France in college, we were just living as cheaply as possible, and we were staying in these really gross, dilapidated dorms, and the kitchen literally only had a sink and a stove, and they were like electric burners that only worked half the time, and sometimes they would just stop working in the middle of boiling a pot or spaghetti. But that was really like an interesting time for me because me and my 2 friends were just trying to cook for ourselves every night, and they were content just like making the same spaghetti with the same pasta sauce every night. And I was going to the store and like grabbing vegetables, and we had like a $2 pan we'd use to cook them up, and I was just always changing things. I think that was the first time that I really had fun with it.
That's one thing I've learned about traveling internationally that I love is that they have more of these corner markets where you can easily go get fresh vegetables and fruit.
Yeah, I definitely found that. In Bordeaux, it was like, life is just, I felt like life in general is just slower in France, especially for us. Our friends weren't there. It was just pretty laid back. And so one of my favorite things to do was to walk along the tram line and go into town and get my groceries and then hop on the tram and come back. And I mean, I learned that I could hang a bag of cheese out the window when it was cold because we didn't have refrigerators. And yeah, basically just learned that refrigeration isn't as necessary as we Americans like to think.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing I like about traveling internationally is that there's not this pressure, at least what I have found to be in a restaurant. You sit down. In America, I think you start to feel like a number, like they're just trying to get you out of that table so they can get the next set of customers in. And like when I went to Buenos Aires, they won't even bring you the check unless you ask for it.
That's funny. I don't remember if they did that in France or not. I do remember, you can't really, they won't cater to you in France like they do here. You can't say, I want a burger without this. I remember being in
No mushrooms, yeah.
No, exactly. In Paris, we tried to order a veggie pizza, and none of us liked mushrooms. I now like mushrooms, but we asked for please no mushrooms. Then this French owner was like, "No, the mushrooms are the essence of the pizza. You have them with the pizza." And we were like, "Oh." Yeah.
So do you speak French?
Oh, a little bit. I'm super rusty now. I think my mistake over there, I hate to say things wrong, and I think when you go to a foreign country, you just have to be willing to sound like a bumbling idiot for a while before it becomes natural, and I think I resisted that.
Yeah, I can totally get that because I'd be so afraid of saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I have a friend that told me that she was not like a foreign exchange, but, went on a temporary mission trip in Mexico, and she was trying to learn Spanish too. And she walked out of the bathroom and said something, like I think she thought she was asking for a towel and ended up asking. The whole family cracked up. It was just a very embarrassing situation. So I think ever since then I've thought, I got to be careful about what I say.
Yeah, no, but I think you need to be less careful about it.
Yes, you're right.
Go with it. Like I remember my cheeks would burn even when I accidentally asked for a box of water instead of a bottle of water, and you just kind of have to embrace it.
Yeah, I have a funny story about that. When I was in Argentina, I was actually there at graduate school, a class that I was taking, international finance, and so the teacher that owned the building or the university that we were in, it's so funny because he was telling us a story in English, very, very jumbled English. And then at one point he says, "You get the photo." He was trying to say, "You get the picture." And it's like, I could totally see why he would think saying the photo is the same thing, but it's totally different.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so funny. I'm just really glad I had that experience because it really gives you a new perspective, and it gives me an appreciation for people who are willing to come over here and bumble through their words,
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to food blogging. So your recipes are vegetarian, right?
They're all vegetarian, yeah.
Did your site begin as a vegetarian food blog, or did it evolve?
No, it's always been vegetarian because I had basically given up meat before I started the blog, so it just seemed like a natural, I'm vegetarian, so my blog's vegetarian.
Yeah, and you have a real strong, it seems like the whole foods emphasis is great on your site.
Yeah, I'm really passionate about just eating food that's as close to the source as possible. I mean, I don't soak nuts overnight or eat a lot of seaweed, but I just, as a kid, actually, doctors tell me I'm hypoglycemic or something. I just learned really early on that if I ate white flour pancakes with regular syrup all over it, then within a couple of hours, I'm literally shaking and sweating and can't think straight. So, I feel like it's just an exaggerated reaction to the way everybody's body sort of processes simple carbs. So I've just always tried to avoid them because I know how much better I feel eating even just whole wheat pancakes with maybe some peanut butter on them for protein.
Or fresh fruit.
Yeah. I mean, so it really made sense to me, the idea of eating whole foods, because I just knew how much of a difference they made for me.
Well, I think it's exciting from two perspectives because, of course, I love that, my site is vegan, so I really love your healthy recipes and things like that. But I also like it from the niche perspective because I think there might be some people out there that might think, a blog that focuses on such a niche market can't be successful. But you seem to be evidence that it can work.
Yeah, I mean, I feel fortunate to for starters, to live in this day and age because, if I'd been raised in the 50s, I don't think I'd even love food because that wasn't the kind of food that I liked to eat. But I think it's just beautiful that there's, with the internet, you basically have access to everyone who has a computer in the world, and that gives you a lot of potential readers.
That's right.
And, but yeah, it seems like the interest in whole foods and eating less meat, if not vegetarian, has been growing over the years. So I feel fortunate to be in this career right now.
That's great. You were on the panel at Chopped Conference talking about working with brands, and you described how you recently took the plunge to become a full-time blogger. I'd love to talk with you more about that. Was there some criteria that you reached that helped you know that you were ready to go full-time?
Yeah, there was. I mean, I should preface this conversation. Like after I started the blog, I ended up quitting that online marketing job that I hated and chose to work for my mom, who's a magazine publisher in Oklahoma City. So, one of the main reasons why I did that was so I could spend more time working on my blog because I was working from home, and it was just more flexible for me. So I realized pretty quickly after I did that if I was going to base my career decisions around my blog, then I'd probably better start turning it into a job, basically. Make money from it.
And publishing experience is probably good to have.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I grew up around my mom, just, marketing is like a dinner topic. So, I mean, I have this entrepreneurial mom. So for me, going full-time food blogger, it was never a crazy idea. I think for people who haven't been around that, it might seem like a bigger deal. But basically, I just worked really hard on my blog, and after a couple of years, my revenue grew to the point that it was consistently more than I was making from my other job. I mean, at that point, I was designing the magazines. So it felt like a natural progression. I mean, I was making more money from my blog. I recognized that there was a lot of potential for making even more money if I could devote more time to it. So I just transitioned over to a full-time food blogger.
Oh, that's great. And so do you think that spending that, I don't know how much time it amounted to, but the time that you spent working with your mom on publishing things actually translated to helping you with the food blog?
I think it did, not really in direct ways, but
right.
I had even, in college, I'd changed my majors a lot, and I ended up getting a degree in advertising. So I just feel like everything in my life has kind of led me to this. It's like blogging is the perfect combination of my skills. I had already loved web design, photography, writing, and you put them all together and you have a food blog, or a blog.
Yeah.
Food and you have a food blog.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So was it more than just the numbers involved? In other words, you talked about making enough money that it was making as much as your income before. So was it more than just the numbers? Was there any kind of mindset that had to change as well?
Trying to think. I know that after I started blogging full-time, it was kind of a rough transition, just sort of emotionally, because I thought beforehand, once I have all this time, I'll just be able to make everything happen at once. It will be wildly successful. I'll post so much more often. And,
yes.
As it turns out, I was already working so much on it. It didn't explode.
Right.
So I even ended up I just decided I was being too hard on myself and got a therapist to kind of talk it out with. And she just reminded me I was already doing a lot.
Yes.
It's helpful to hear that, because when you're working on your own and you don't have anyone around even to be like, look what you're doing so well. It's just, I don't know. I was too hard on myself.
Oh, I totally get that, because it's so easy to kind of, internalize what you see is happening out everywhere else, and you think, I should be doing this, or I should have that, and I'm not doing enough here, and it can drive you crazy sometimes. I know, I still struggle with it. It's sort of just a constant trap that I try to avoid, comparing myself to others. It is definitely a trap, and I think for me at least, the more I know myself, the better I can be at, I may know that I'm just not, for example, I never want to put down any one particular social media, but Twitter is just not an area that I do very well in. So I finally have just said, it's okay. I don't have to be great at Twitter.
Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, I'm actually not great at any form of social media, and I try not to beat myself up about it.
Now, wait a second, because I think you're pretty good at Instagram, aren't you?
Oh, I'm trying to be better. I've just had the most awesome weekend, and somehow I didn't take a single photo that was worthy of my Instagram. Didn't feel like, so I've got nothing to show for it on there. But
well, that's a good question. I mean, I guess it depends on how you use it then.
yeah, lately I've decided to try to be a little more promotional of my recipes on my blog, but I always want it to be sort of a behind-the-scenes look at my life and cooking and stuff.
Yeah, so it's kind of a great way. Like I've seen some food bloggers who use Instagram as a way to kind of show the recipe in progress or to maybe even give a teaser about it too.
Yeah, you can do all kinds of things with it. I definitely post a lot of cookie pictures.
Yes. And let's talk about Cookie for a minute. Is it a male?
She
is the cutest dog.
Thank you.
She has such a unique look about her that, she looks like she's got a lot of personality too.
Oh, she's just bursting with it.
Really?
She's really quirky, really ornery, especially when food is involved. She's like a little clown.
I just spent the weekend pet sitting an Australian Shepherd, which I think your dog looks like it has some of that.
That's what I thought. I got her DNA tested, and she's actually part Australian Coolie, which is more of an obscure breed, but close, yeah.
But it's first of all, they have a lot of energy, and second, they're just so smart and playful. Oh.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about you this weekend, thinking that, I wonder if that's how Cookie is.
Well, that's how she is, for sure.
I mean, never really wants to stop playing.
No, and I'm in Austin this month, and we have 2 dogs over here in addition to Cookie, and she's like the boss, for sure. She grabs all the crumbs before anyone else gets near them.
So I'm sure she must be happy with your decision to become a full-time blogger because you're home a lot more, huh?
Yeah, I think she probably has no idea how good she has it.
That's what I think about my dogs too. Because the funny thing is if we opened the door and they got out, they would just run and not look back.
Oh, Cookie does that. It's the worst.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's terrifying. Yeah.
And I think you have no idea what you're running from. We've got it great here.
I know. I don't know. She just has this little wild streak in her that just makes her want to run right out the door.
Yeah. So one thing I noticed about your blog is it seems more than just sharing recipes. It seems to me like you have this really thriving, engaged community on your site. Do you have tips for how to build an engaged community?
Yeah, I don't. It's a big question. I feel like it's just my readers are like so important to me. I mean, even going back to that first salsa post, like I wouldn't have posted more recipes if I hadn't gotten some nice comments, like some nice encouraging comments from people about that salsa. And so I literally feel like my blog turned into a food blog because of the encouragement of my readers. And honestly, like they keep me going. Anytime I'm feeling down, or I'm comparing myself too much to other bloggers, like I'll just go and answer comments, and they're just 99% of them are from the nicest people.
Yes.
And it's so important to me that I do my very best to respond to every reader who says they made my recipe. Because I feel like they took the time to go on there and thank me for it and tell me about it. And so I feel like I should take the time to personally respond. And I know that when I was just starting out, like if a blogger responded to my comment or like emailed me back about it, I would go into I would have heart palpitations. I'd be
I can't believe they responded. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that acknowledgement is really important, and it makes people feel connected to you, and it makes them really want to come back.
So do you engage mostly with your readers on your blog or also on Facebook or other places too?
I try to be responsive everywhere. Sometimes on Facebook or Twitter, it might just be a like or a, favoriting their tweet. But I try to make sure people are aware that there's like a real person back here and I'm listening. And I think it does make a huge difference.
Yeah, I think so too. And do you ever survey your readers?
I think the closest I get to a survey is just occasionally I'll do like a giveaway of some kind, and I always ask them for what do you want to cook right now, or what could I do to make this website work better for you. like some of the answers to that question led me to try to improve my menu and my categories on my blog, which made it easier for people to find what they're looking for. It's so cool to do those little giveaways just because there's, a compelling enough reason, I guess, for people to come out of the woodwork and tell you they're there and tell you what you could do better for them.
And it's such a great thought to think of yourself as serving your readers. I like that line.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I can only do what I love for a living because people come back to my blog and visit it and share my recipes with friends and tell them about it. So I just feel so thankful for them, and I want to make my blog as helpful for them as it possibly can be.
That's great. I noticed you have everything on your site from savory cauliflower to smoothies to salted peanut butter and honey ice cream. Everything just looks delicious. But I'm just curious, do you have any kind of formula that you're using that helps you determine like how much savory to sweet to, smoothies that you have on your site?
Oh, I want to say yes, but I don't really. It's really just what I'm craving at that given point in time. I've never been great about having like a backlog of recipes, so it's literally like the recipe that you see me publish is the one that I'm most excited about right now. I feel like for productivity's sake, I should probably have a backlog, but it's a very like just I need to feel a certain level of excitement in order to even try that recipe 4 times, because I just really think it's going to work that 4th time.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I think that's another reason why people like my blog is I think they pick up on a genuine enthusiasm for each recipe.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. There's this tendency you can see where you'd want to be planned and work ahead, but at the same time, you got to have some feel for the excitement of what you're inspired by at the moment.
Right. Yeah, that's hard.
Finding that balance is really hard.
Yeah, I wish I could say I was better at it. It definitely stresses me out to feel like, oh no, it's been 3 days. I really need to post something, but this recipe is just not quite there yet. So I've just always focused on quality over quantity. So even if it's not, I've never been able to just like publish a recipe 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday by 8 a.m. It's honestly, I'm not really like a routine-driven person myself. I don't think my brain really works that way. It's more like I need to be all-encompassed in a project and like really get in it to work on it. So.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I'm the same way, and it does seem like there's this drive to kind of push people towards a routine.
Yeah, I think obviously that works for people. I think some of the most successful bloggers out there have followed that routine, but again, it's one of those things I try not to beat myself up too much over or get a lot of shoulds running around in my head, because I know what works better for me, and I'm even a big fan of the Myers-Briggs personality type, and I know that
Me too.
Yeah, I'm an INTP, and I like to just chase after ideas. It's like you just can't force my brain into that kind of thinking.
You got to think it through in your head, right?
Yeah. I get really excited about like new concepts, and then I just go like 90 miles a minute trying to figure it out.
I'm an ENFJ, so I'm probably the same, but I do it out loud.
Okay, there you go.
My poor husband.
Yeah, I really am an introvert, and that's why I'm content sitting at, working from home most days.
I think that's a very good point, that being a blogger, you do have to find a balance. Like sometimes for me, the E in me will need to go out. I just go to a coffee shop and work because I need to be around people.
Yeah, I've been trying to push myself towards that more lately, but I don't know. I feel like blogging is just really interesting because people, all different kinds of people can be successful bloggers, maybe they're great at the routine and that works for them, or maybe they're, awesome at communicating with people, so their Facebook page is on fire, and even when it comes to making money, you can earn money in so many different ways. I just think it's really awesome and interesting.
Yeah, like there are people who develop their own ebooks that they have on their site, or, and you don't have to have just advertising anymore. Right.
No, there's a lot of different ways to do it, and I just find that pretty beautiful, really. You could have an amazing design aesthetic, and even if you don't have all the followers, you could still get an amazing cookbook deal and, critical attention, or you could make your own products like ebooks, or I mean, it just goes on and on. It's really cool.
It is very cool. It's almost like being a blogger is writing your own journey kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it is. And I think that another cool thing about that is that you get to define your own version of success,
Exactly. It doesn't have to be about the numbers and how many people are on your site. It can be about like this engaged community that you've got.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think it's really cool.
So tell me, is there anything about blogging that's not your favorite?
I get really frustrated with my email inbox. I've kind of developed some organization that's helping with that lately, but I want to respond to everyone, and I can't, and I get so many PR requests or people asking me for such a small, irrelevant favor, and I feel like they're just like knocking on my door incessantly. Like it's like my front door, and they're just like knocking on it, and I'm like, you guys, I have to get my work done. Leave me alone.
I know. I like emails when I know how to respond to them, but so many of these are from like some company I've never heard of that's asking for, me to try out their product or try it's like I don't even know how to respond.
Yeah, I mean, I don't either, and I've kind of just gotten to the point that I have made it okay to myself not to respond to everyone.
Yeah.
Which I think just has to happen. I mean, my readers are always top priority. It might take me a few days to get back to them, but I will try to get back to them always.
Right.
And then all those, I personally don't like to ask people for favors, and a lot of people seem willing to just ask for anything in the world, and it's just like, whoa.
I know, I'm kind of independently minded as well. Like I really want to try to do everything on my own, and sometimes that's not healthy. You should ask for help probably more than I do. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, don't ask somebody else for something you wouldn't do yourself.
Right. That's kind of the way I look at it. But I've started using Gmail's priority inbox. So anytime I get like a few PR emails from the same person, and they're all about like hot dogs. Which have nothing to do with my vegetarian food.
Yeah, that's a pretty good sign. Yeah.
I just drag them over there and I say, yep, don't put any of these emails in my priority inbox again, because I'm not going to talk to someone about hot dogs or
Now tell me quickly, how does that I have not used that before. So if you go to your Google inbox, you can set up a priority box? Yeah,
it might be like a checkbox setting that you need to turn on, but basically I think the way it works is there's like a priority tab, and then there's a tab for like social interactions, and then there's a tab for promotions or something. So as right off the bat, Gmail will direct emails written only to you into priority, and if it's like a newsletter, they'll put it in the promotions tab.
Ah, nice. That's really a good tip. I just talked with Bjork Ostrom, and he was saying how his goal is what do you call it? Inbox zero, where you have at the end of the day, you don't have any emails left in your inbox.
Yeah, that's impressive. I don't think it's
I know. I know. I am so far off the target on that one.
I don't even, I never delete emails. I just star the ones that need responses. So then I look over at my starred emails and don't unstar them until they've been fully processed. But the just having those tabs there is beautiful, because then once, I've kind of trained it to direct emails to different folders, and I used to keep my email application open all day, and anytime I got a little red dot from an incoming email, I'd go look at it, and that is like no way to get things done.
Oh yeah, you can't get anything done that way, because you're just constantly distracted.
Yeah, and I even turned off all the notifications on my phone for social media, because I realized one day I was kind of bored, and instead of working, I was literally just clicking on every red dot, new Twitter, new Instagram, new Facebook, new Twitter, new Instagram, and I was like, I can't be spending my days like this.
I call that reaction syndrome. I sometimes like to react. It's like I become addicted to reacting to things.
Yes, absolutely, and I feel like it's just it's a normal response to this industry that we're in, which is providing like constant feedback and validation, and you can kind of get like your brain kind of gets stuck on it.
Yeah. And so you have to find ways to trick yourself out of it.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the biggest things I've done since becoming a full-time food blogger is just sort of like checking myself and putting better practices in place for productivity. Just shutting stuff down in order to work on big projects.
So it sounds like to me that's one of your favorite tips is in order to get the things that you need to get done, you've got to remove distractions.
Yeah, absolutely. Just completely minimize. Like, I love the concept of minimalism in the home and stuff, and I don't think I'll ever actually get there, but I'm always trying to simplify.
Yeah, sometimes my brain works in weird ways, but sometimes I have this image of a boxing ring and more is one of the boxers and minimalism is the other boxer. And I try to think, who would I root for?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm torn. I really like minimalism, but I like more is more too.
I know that was one of the main reasons. I'm in Austin, Texas for the month, working remotely, and I tried to bring down as little as possible. And instead of sort of loving my limited things here, I just find myself wishing that I'd brought like sandals and shorts and more stuff.
Yes.
So
what does that say? What does that mean?
This is teaching me the lesson I was hoping it would. If anything, I'm just very particular about my things and how my website looks, and I like things in a certain order. And I couldn't bring myself to spend $20 on sandals at Target that I just did not love when I had those sandals at home that I loved. So it's like I'm just realizing I'm kind of particular. I kind of like my things. Like I spend so much time picking them out. I don't want to replace them with junk.
I got you. That's right.
Yeah.
And you obviously you found something that's very comfortable too, I'm sure, as part of that.
Oh, some sandals are more comfortable than others, but.
So are you wearing boots around Austin then?
I am wearing boots and flats. It's been quite a range of temperatures here, so I brought more cooler weather clothes. And there have been a couple of hot days, but
I've seen some pictures of people in Austin. I'm sure it's, it seems like anything goes there.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's very eclectic here, and it's really been inspiring to be here. They have such amazing restaurants. I don't think I'm going to hit all the ones on my list. And just lots of fun activities to do.
What a great idea to kind of take your show on the road and get because you can easily get into the same rhythms and getting out of that probably helps creativity.
Yeah, I think it has. Well, I mean, I should credit. I'm here with my friend Allie. She has the blog Give Me Some Oven. And it was all her idea, and I just kind of went along with it, and it actually happened.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's been super fun. I was working really hard on some projects in January, and so this month has just been a really chill work month, and at times I felt like I'm being a bum because I'm just like going out for dinner every night and having a good time, but then I think I just need to, I ultimately decided to embrace it because I think when I get back I'll get thrown back into the busyness, so
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been really nice to relax and get lots of new recipe ideas and talk to another blogger all day long. It's been good.
That's great. So what's coming up next for you? Anything you can share?
Oh, well, I am hopeful to work on a cookbook soon. We'll see.
Excellent. That's great.
Yeah, my motto for it is we'll see, because I really don't know
yeah,
if it's going to happen or not yet. So,
I know you're not originally from Missouri, but that is such a Missourian thing to do, to say, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's interesting to devote so much time to a project that may or may not pan out, but I feel like that's oftentimes how some of the best projects start. So
that's right.
Yeah, I've just been trying to make time to work on my proposal, and yeah.
Great. So I've got a few quick and fun questions I like to do at the end of the interview. So what's the one food that you could not live without?
Oh, chocolate.
I think that's a good option.
Yeah.
It's hard to go wrong with chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so any kind of chocolate? I mean, are you kind of picky about it, or just chocolate?
I am partial to dark chocolate. I don't love milk chocolate.
I agree.
But, dark chocolate in just about any form will do.
Not a particular candy bar that you're just dying and to have right now?
Actually, at the flagship Whole Foods in Austin, I found these, I think they're salted chipotle dark chocolate covered almonds.
Oh my God, say that again. Salted chipotle.
Salted chipotle dark chocolate covered almonds. So those are my chocolate of choice right now.
If anybody's interested, I'll be sure to leave the link in the show notes for that. That sounds too good.
Honestly, I don't know if you'll be able to find them at other Whole Foods, because I always look at the chocolate section of the bulk bins at Whole Foods, and this is the first place I've found those.
Oh, so it's in the bulk bins.
Yeah, it's in the bulk bins. I also have a weakness for dark chocolate covered malt balls. I don't know. My dad loves malt balls. I think I got it from him.
I've never had one that's dark chocolate covered. It's definitely going to be worth an excursion to try that.
You kind of have to hunt them down, but when you find them, they're like gold.
Okay, so what's your favorite app on your phone?
Evernote. I think that's my all-time favorite app for all apps ever.
Well, you mentioned you're hoping to be more organized, and that's definitely a way to do that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, literally my whole brain's on Evernote. I think I might implode if it disappeared. It's just how I organize every aspect of my business and my personal life. Like anything I want to reference later, or all my to-do lists, my grocery lists, it's all in Evernote, so it's all in like a central location, basically.
That's great. So do you have time for TV at all? And if so, what's your favorite show?
I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't have any like cable. I just have an Apple TV. But lately I've been watching The Good Wife.
I don't think I know about that one. Is it
Well, I started watching it after like my grandma mentioned it, Allie mentioned it, and enough people mentioned it that I thought this is probably worth checking out. It's about a lawyer who's married and has 2 children, and her husband was a high-profile Chicago politician who got in trouble for cheating on her. So it's kind of just following her story and watching her grow and react to that situation.
Is it a cable show or network or what?
Oh, what? I think it's a network show.
Okay. I'll have to check that out. It sounds really good.
Yeah, it might be ABC. It's Juliana Margulies. She used to be on ER. She's the main character.
Okay, cool. I'm going to definitely check that one out.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's smart.
Okay, so you're at a breakfast buffet where you have to choose between pancakes or waffles. Which one do you put on your plate?
Waffles if they look really nice and crispy. Otherwise, pancakes.
You can't go wrong with a really good crispy waffle.
No, I'm very particular about my waffles. They have to be crispy.
That's why personally I think homemade is always best, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I'm always talking about how important waffles are to me. Like every time I publish a waffle recipe, I'm like, you guys, they're crispy on the outside and fluffy on the inside. That's the only way I'll have them.
I think it's interesting how many things people are putting in waffles, like potatoes, the waffle iron.
Yeah. Actually, before I left town, for a few days, I was just leaving my waffle iron out because I was too lazy to put it up. And then I'd be like, can I put a quesadilla in there?
Did it work?
Kind of. I tried to put tofu in there because I saw somebody on Food Gawker had, like, turned tofu into this golden, crispy, waffled thing, and it didn't really work for me. I don't know what did wrong.
Doesn't sound too appetizing. I guess maybe if it was seasoned first, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'm always too lazy to, like, marinate for a while. It just wasn't very good. Okay, so, Kathryne, how can people find you online? I am at Cookie and Kate pretty much everywhere. So cookieandkate.com, Cookie and Kate on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere.
Wonderful. Kathryne, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Yeah, thank you, Marley. This was really fun.
Thanks so much to Kathryne Taylor for being my guest on today's episode of the Chopped Podcast, and thanks to you for hearing it. If you have something to share about this episode, I don't know, maybe it's like your favorite going pro tips, please share it on the show notes page at choppedcon.com/podcast. If you like the Chopped Podcast, and I sure hope you do, I'd love it if you'd give it a review on iTunes. This helps the show get discovered by more people. I hope today's show was helpful and inspirational. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great week.